Hey, I just finished up a television hit talking about a variety of topics, but one of the things that came up was about the New York City mayoral race. Where we saw in a stunning result, Zohran Mamdani become elected the Democratic representative for in that mayoral race. Mamdani has a very interesting perspective. He is a declared socialist, and his ideas are very radical. He would want to see, let me go down the list here. Rent freezes, which by the way would harm, immigrant owning landlords, people from the Caribbean who, rent out their properties, and without any rent coming in, they will probably lose their houses. He wants social workers as opposed to traditional policing to control urban violence. Good luck with that. He wants to eliminate city bus fare, which would obviously blow a hole in the MTA, the public transit's budget, and probably lead to cuts in service. He wants a $30 minimum wage, which is really, really expensive. And I understand New York City is expensive, but who is going to pay a $30 minimum wage? If businesses are able to stay in business and afford to do that, it's because they will be increasing the prices that they will be charging for New Yorkers. And then he wants to fund a lot of this by, he says, taxing the wealthy, who, by the way, already pay a disproportionate share of the city's income taxes. That's just the policy side of what he brings to the table. Then you look at his, I would say, moral compass. And he has been committed to pro-Hamas activism. He has been rabidly anti-Semitic, anti-Israel. And by the way, on October 7th, he never condemned Hamas for carrying out that campaign. Instead, he just talks about the ending the occupation and dismantling of apartheid. So in short, blaming Israel for October 7th. Now, that's what Democrats have elected based on their interesting systems of elections to represent them in the general election this fall. You have Mayor Eric Adams, who is now a fixture on Fox News' Fox and Friends every morning, obviously peeling off Republican and conservative voters. And then Andrew Cuomo, who I don't think he's done. He has not ruled out a third-party independent run as well. We'll see what happens in the fall, and you still have the Republican candidate as well. It's going to be an interesting race, but I do think it tells us something. And it tells us that the Democratic base, instead of broadening to welcome more centrist, even center-right-ish voices, individuals who live in New York City, who are not who would not want to see rent freezes, who think that making bus fare entirely free would be extremely expensive, who recognize that you can tax wealthy people only so much, and frankly, who are Jews and who do not want to support pro-Hamas candidates or pro-Hamas politicians. So we'll see what happens. For efforts of expanding the tent and becoming more centrist, this candidate is not that. But maybe that is where the Democratic Party, not just in New York, but broadly, is moving. I'm curious to see how he does in the general election. And I'm curious to see whether a lot of the other progressive candidates who are running up and down the ballot are going to embrace his perspective as well and be very outright socialist or outright radical in their policies, or frankly, outright anti-Semitic. Let's see how far that gets us. And for conservatives, don't just assume that voters will be so disillusioned they will kind of wander over into the conservative tent. I do think it's important to be able to explain why a free market solution is more important, how we're helping people up and down the income scale, and why it's important to not be anti-Semitic or to tolerate that kind of racism and hatred and xenophobia in the United States. All right. I would love your thoughts. Drop them below.